If you're a career professional who's planning to join the creator economy, you're about to face two paths, and which path you choose here might determine whether you join the 97% of creators earning below the US poverty line or the 3% who actually build a successful and growing creator business. Path 1 is to build a creator business around the skills that you already have as an experienced professional. You spent years or maybe even decades getting paid to solve real problems for a business, and you likely have expertise that companies have literally paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for over your career. And so this first path really just builds on that by taking your experience and leveraging it into a creator business that solves the same or at least similar problems just online. Path 2, on the other hand, is to start over in something completely new that you're more passionate about. Maybe you're an engineer who's always wanted to be an artist, so you start an art channel, or you work in HR, but you're really passionate about food, so you launch a cooking channel. Or maybe you're a financial analyst, but you've always loved working out, so you become a fitness creator. When you break down these two paths like this, I think it's easy to see path 1 as a logical choice on paper. Yet, the vast majority of career professionals opt for path 2 instead. And I get it, the creator economy has been completely romanticized. And it's really no wonder. According to Goldman Sachs, the creator economy is expected to hit $500 billion valuation by just 2027, nearly double that by 2032. And at the same time, every YouTube coach is telling you that this is your chance to finally do what you love, to follow your passion, and that you can turn your hobby into income. And they paint a picture where you can create content about literally anything you're interested in, build an audience around it, and suddenly you're making six figures talking about your workout routine or your vintage computer collection. And look, maybe that's true. Creators do make 6 or even 7 figures and beyond creating content about all kinds of things that they're interested in. But it's not as simple as find a passion and then out-passion every other creator to get there. There's a sequence to creator success that 99% of new creators completely miss. And understanding that sequence begins with grasping what you're actually taking on when you make this jump. In your corporate job, you are one player inside of a machine. Marketing writes the copy, sales closes deals, operations handles the logistics, finance runs the numbers, legal reviews contracts, IT keeps systems running, HR deals with people problems, and so on. And I know, as fun as it is to talk shit about other departments and how useless they can be at times, making the leap to creator can be incredibly sobering because as a creator, you don't have a marketing department. You are the marketing department and sales department and operations and finance and legal and IT and HR and customer service and everything else, which means that this jump from career to creator isn't just learning to talk to a camera instead of a conference room. It's going from being supported by an entire infrastructure to becoming that entire infrastructure. You'll need to learn how to tell stories that actually hook people in the first 3 seconds, and then to keep them watching for the next 10 minutes. You'll need to understand audience psychology well enough to build and nurture a community that genuinely trusts you, and you'll need to develop a brand that somehow stands out in an ocean of other options, and you'll need to design offers that convert window shoppers on your landing page into buyers. And you'll need to learn to sell yourself and your products without coming across like that guy that everyone avoids at networking events. And finally, you'll need to create products that actually deliver on all of the value that they promise. And honestly, that's just the flashy stuff. You'll also be figuring out payment processing and how to create and send invoices that get paid, and how to manage customer supports when someone can't log into your course at 11 p.m. on a Sunday, and you'll need to learn enough web design to not embarrass yourself when you send out a landing page link, or how to build email funnels that don't end up in spam folders, and how to understand analytics well enough to at least take a guess at why your revenue dropped 40% last month. Now listen, no matter which path you choose, this is all part of the game. These are the table stakes, and yes, they have incredible upside, but these skills are what is required for playing in the creator economy. But if you give in to the romance of Path 2, if you decide to chase your passion down a completely different road than anything you've done professionally, you're not just signing up to learn all of these fundamental skills that are needed to run your creator business. You're signing up to learn them while also starting from zero in a brand new domain. So while you're learning how email marketing works, you're also trying to become knowledgeable and proficient above the average, as well as credible in this brand new area. You're essentially agreeing to learn two entirely different games at once, and that is a heavy lift if you want to see any forward motion and success in the short term, which I assume that you do. So let's say you're convinced that you see the logic of not learning two games at once and that path one makes more sense, at least for now. But you're still staring at that long list of departments that I just rattled off that you need to become, and it feels overwhelming. Well, the good news here is that you do not need to become all 10 departments overnight. Just like the corporate world has a predictable journey from intern to associate to senior and beyond, there is a manageable path here as a creator as well. It's just not as familiar yet. The best framework I've found for understanding this is called the Ladders of Wealth, which was created by Nathan Barry, the founder behind Kit.com, which I use myself to run both of my creator businesses. And the concept underlying his framework is simply that making money is a skill that builds progressively, like climbing ladders. Each ladder represents a different business model. Each rung represents a higher level of leverage within that model, and moving up and over requires learning new skills. Right now, you're likely on the employment ladder. Your skills that you have are rounded out by those alongside you in your organization, which is ultimately what allows your effort to be multiplied for the overall business to succeed. But in this setup, you trade time for money at a fixed rate with one employer, which means that your upside in that business is capped by hours or salary along with annual reviews. And most professionals know this ladder very well. They stay on it for years, and sometimes many of them even retire directly from it. The services ladder is where most career professionals can jump to immediately. And for those of you who have tried going freelance or who have taken on side gigs in the past, I'm sure you already have a taste of what this ladder looks like. On this ladder, you're still trading time for money, but now it's at a rate that you set with multiple clients. For example, an HR director becomes an HR consultant, or when a marketing manager or designer boots up their own services agency, selling the same services that they offered to their employer, but now just to more companies. Here, you'll build on your domain expertise, but now you'll need to learn things like sales and client management and pricing and how to scope projects and how to handle difficult conversations about money. Now, this next ladder of productized services is where you take what you've been doing as a service business and you standardize it. And Nathan's example in the blog post is perfect here. Instead of charging hourly for video editing, you instead charge $2,000 for up to 4 videos per month. And that's really the core difference, where instead of quoting an hourly rate or cost per video, you instead give an allowance of up to 4 videos for the same price, whether they take you 10 hours or 40. Or another example is maybe the custom analysis that you've been tailoring for each and every client now becomes a $2,500 audit with the exact same 7 deliverables every time. With this ladder, you're learning to resist when clients say, could you just add this 1 or 2 other things? And you'll learn to create systems that work whether the client is organized or chaotic. Now, some of this feels weird at first, turning down money or additional scope because it doesn't fit into your standard package, or when you're using the same templates for wildly different companies. But that is how you build more efficient workflows and achieve better scale instead of needing to start from scratch with each and every client. Products are what most people picture when they think of creators selling something, whether that's digital downloads or presets or templates and premium tutorials. Really, anything that you can create one time and then sell on repeat. This is where creators finally gain real leverage because it fully decouples your time from your income. Even the creators that you don't think of as course sellers today or as someone who sells digital products used this rung to build capital and a foundation to climb higher. For example, Dan Koh sold writing courses before building Cortex. Alex Hormozy, as much as he doesn't want to admit it, sold gym launch education before becoming an investor. Nathan sold ebooks and design tutorials before building ConvertKit. And in my experience and from what I've seen, the skills and leverage gained from products is most often what fuels and funds the climb upward. Dan is now able to build software for writers. Nathan built an entire email platform used by thousands of creators. And Hormozy went from creating education for one audience to now investing in education platforms like school.com. And these are all SaaS products with recurring revenue potential, real-world genuine infrastructure, and the ability to exit the business once it grows. Now, you don't have to climb this high if you don't want to. Plenty of creators create content and make millions doing something and learning how to improve on it, and then passing on all those learnings through teaching their audience how to do it themselves. And they stay happily in that position for years. But if you want to climb higher, it's the skills and leverage from digital products that usually funds the journey to the upper end of that final ladder. Now, as someone with a career or at least a few years of professional experience behind you, you might be looking at the ladders of wealth and already see a few places you are coming into this with a bit of an advantage. Most of you might be ready to skip straight to the services ladder, for example. Others might even be able to jump over that into productized services. And I know most of you likely have your eyes on digital products. So the first thing I want you to take away from this framework is to understand that when you hit a wall in your creator business as you move between these ladders, and I promise you, you will hit walls, it's rarely because you're not smart enough or not working hard enough or that you chose the wrong path. It's usually because you're missing a specific skill from a rung or a ladder that you tried to skip. But I want to be clear here, the point I'm making in this section isn't that you have to climb every rung start to finish one by one. It's that you have to be honest about which skills that you have personally, not the ones that existed around you in your organization that you were employed at, so that you can identify what you're actually missing. See, the beauty is you can skip rungs or even entire ladders if you're strategic about it. You just need those missing capabilities covered somehow in your business. And this took me way too long to understand. I kept looking at other creators who seemingly jumped straight to courses or digital products, and I wondered why my first ones weren't selling as well as theirs, despite having, in some ways, and by most metrics, more experience than them in that area. But over time, what I eventually learned was that they had skipped the traditional ladder climbing like I suspected. They just weren't missing the capabilities. They'd already learned those service ladder skills somewhere else, maybe through years of teaching or in unrelated sales roles or in past failed businesses or in hiring out parts of their business. But either way, they'd figured out what problems people pay to solve, how to talk about solutions, and what makes someone trust you with their money. They just acquired it in a different context or within a much more compressed timeline than climbing each ladder rung by rung. Now, when it comes to actually moving through these ladders, whether that's learning the skills to climb up or to move over, there are really only 3 ways this happens. Option 1 is learning through direct experience, where you give yourself permission to be bad at first. You stumble through sales calls, sometimes nailing it, while other times talking for 45 minutes trying to make a point you're unclear on while defending your credibility and ultimately failing to actually make your pitch clear. Or when you're sending email campaigns with wildly unclickable subject lines, but you only realize it after you've already blown your shot at a first impression with over 200 subscribers. Now, I will say that some people love this first option. They want to learn every lesson themselves, and it feels like you have the most control here. And sure, it is slower and you don't even know what it is that you're missing half of the time, but when you do figure something out yourself, it's incredibly gratifying and it does tend to stick. Option 2 is hiring strategically to cover your weak spots. Just like your previous corporation didn't expect one person to be great at everything or to do everything, neither should you. If you don't have the slightest idea how to get a site up and running, hire a freelance designer or dev. If you don't understand email funnels at all, bring in someone who can help you set them up and get them going. Or if you hate video editing, there's probably someone on Fiverr who loves it and is more accessible than you think. With this second option, you're essentially buying back your time and paying to avoid costly mistakes. But the key word here really is strategically. You can't outsource everything, but you can outsource the things that would take you months to learn if your bank account can support it. And the truth is, not everyone has that as an option at the start, and that included me. Option 3 is compressing the timeline of the first option through premium education and mentorship. Essentially, you buy the learnings of someone who's already made all the mistakes. And this could be in the form of a course or a mastermind where people share what's actually working right now, or you could hire a mentor who's helped 50 other people make this exact transition that you're looking to make. Either way, you're learning from other people's scar tissues instead of earning your own. And this does cost money upfront, and there is risk when trying to find the right program or mentor. But in my experience, if you can find the right one, it can save you months or even years of wandering in the dark. Now, I do want to clarify that your business will need all of these capabilities eventually, but it does not need every capability on day one because it's just unrealistic and no one starts with it all figured out. But over time, you have to acquire them somehow. Either you develop the skill over time yourself, you pay someone else who has it, or you invest in education to get it faster. That's how all businesses grow and succeed, and creator businesses are really no different. But I know what you're probably thinking right now in the video. Chet, this is all great, but where does content come into play with all this? How does this connect to being a creator business? And this is where most career professionals on the outside looking in get the creator economy completely wrong at first. Because more often than not, they look at successful creators and they draw the wrong conclusions about where the money comes from in relation to the content. They think that the model is simple: create content, build an audience, get views, make money from ads and sponsorships. They see people like Mr. Beast making millions and they think that's the game for everybody. But that model, the advertising model of only earning from your content when someone else sells their product using your content as distribution, is exactly why 97% of creators earn below the US poverty line, according to a report shared by Kajabi. Pull up any AdSense calculator and run the numbers yourself. You need millions of monthly views to earn what you could make right now in a mid-level career position at any decent company. So unless you're confident that every piece of content you create will go viral, banking your income on advertising is really like planning your retirement around lottery tickets. See, the successful 3% understands something fundamentally different here. In a creator business, content isn't the product. Content proves that the product works. And I really hope that stuck, because this shift in thinking changes everything about how you approach the creator economy. So I want to say it again, just to make sure. Content is not the product. Content proves that the product works, right? Most people see YouTube or LinkedIn or Twitter as broadcast platforms, which means that they try to act like a media company, but that's not the way that successful creator businesses use them. What your content really is a demonstration system where every video that you publish becomes a proof point that shows people how you think and how you solve problems and what kind of results that you can deliver. And the way that you approach problems, or the templates and frameworks that you create and give them in your content, are all really just samples of your expertise as a kind of living portfolio. And because they're content, they scale what would otherwise be one-to-one consultations as a freelancer. Think about your corporate experience for a second. Every presentation that you gave or meeting that you led trying to align different stakeholders or colleagues who all wanted different things. What were you really doing in those sessions? You were proving value for the business. You were demonstrating that you knew how to solve problems that mattered, problems that were valuable enough that someone was willing to pay your salary to have them solved. The only difference was that your company provided the audience. They brought you the clients, the stakeholders, and the teams. Your job was to show up and deliver value to that captive audience. In the creator economy, content reverses this dynamic. You're taking samples of that same value and releasing them into the world where they can find the right people. Someone searches for their specific problem, for example, how to create an art direction brief, or how to run a kickoff meeting, or how to scope a project without going over budget, and they find your video. And then they discover you have a whole library of solutions to problems that they've been struggling with. But with this approach, you're not trying to become an influencer. You're not chasing viral titles or thumbnails, hoping to hit the algorithm lottery to go viral video after video. Instead, what you're doing is building a public body of work that positions you as the person who solves specific problems within what I call a problem space. See, according to research, an audience typically needs to spend about 7 hours with your content before they trust you enough to purchase something from you. Not 7 minutes, 7 hours. In Lord of the Rings terms, that means you have to get them through the Mines of Moria. They have to survive Helm's Deep, and they need to boot up Return of the King. That's a lot of time spent together. So your job here is not to get 1 million views on one video. It's to attract the right 1,000 people to watch everything you create because you're solving their exact problems consistently in a way that's relatable to them. Okay, so if content proves the product works, you need an actual product for it to prove. For career professionals, education is the natural starting point. And I mean education in the broadest sense, where you help people get from where they are to where they want to be using knowledge that you already have from your career. So you've been getting paid to solve problems for years, and it's easy, I think, to devalue the past because what used to be tough for us is now second nature, and it doesn't feel as immediately valuable. But just in the same way that you've helped out juniors in your business or interns when they're starting out, other people have those same problems online around the world, and they'll pay you to help them solve them faster or more effectively. Now let's go through how content and products actually work together to create income, because it's not as simple as make videos, sell courses. There's a specific way that this builds, and it works in layers. You start with a steady stream of YouTube videos as a baseline, where you consistently put value into the world, solving problems publicly and demonstrating your expertise at scale. And those who see those and who want to get more out of that free content will join your newsletter in exchange for some tangible assets like templates or guides or anything else that you create that makes those videos more actionable. And over time with both of those, you'll learn which topics pull more interest and which assets drive more conversions to your newsletter. And while you're building this foundation of content and your email list, you can start offering services. Some people start with coaching calls, an hour at a time, helping people or businesses through specific problems that their YouTube video couldn't quite get deep enough into. Others jump into multi-week consulting or freelance projects. Maybe you do audits or you run workshops, or maybe you even completely handle implementation for clients who just want it done for them. And yes, this is the services ladder, so this is trading time for money still, which is probably what you're trying to escape. But it's also paid market research, as in you are getting paid to research and understand your audience better. And this is incredibly valuable beyond just what you're earning through the service, because every client conversation teaches you exactly how people describe their problems, what solutions they've already tried, where they get stuck, and most importantly, what outcomes they'd actually pay you to help them achieve. Then you take those insights and create products. The solution that you charged $2,500 to deliver in a series of consulting sessions or through a week of freelance becomes a $350 course that can sell to unlimited people while you sleep. Now, when I break it down like this, it does sound simple, but it's not easy, and it does require you to pick up a number of skills along the way in order to actually start selling those education products, which is why I led with the Ladders of Wealth overview. Again, as you move through these layers, you can learn things along the way yourself, you can hire around them, or you can compress them through education. But no matter how you choose to approach this personally in your business, this is how you go from getting paid a fixed rate by one employer to instead getting paid by the entire internet through leveraging your experience into services and products. And look, for some of you, this whole system will just click. You can see how content becomes your demonstration system, how that drives services, how services become products, and you're comfortable with building around what you already know. But I know that others are wrestling with something deeper, and I promise that we come back to this, where even though everything I just explained might make sense, there's this voice in the back of your head still saying, I don't want to be X guy forever, or I didn't leave corporate just to teach exactly what I was doing, just online. And I hear you, and I want to address this specifically because it's often the final objection that keeps people from starting. Now, others of you genuinely love your niche or profession, and you're excited about having more autonomy and reaching more people and uncapping your earning potential while doing work you already find meaningful. And if that's you, that's amazing. You're already on the right path. But for those of you who see your corporate experience more as baggage, who really do want to eventually teach pottery or review restaurants or whatever it is that your passion is, I need you to understand something. Choosing to build around your existing expertise first is not a life sentence. You're not signing a contract that says you'll teach project management until you die. You're making a strategic decision about the smartest way to enter and to learn the creator economy. And I think a helpful perspective for this is to picture any successful modern entrepreneur. They don't start a company at 25 and run the exact same company until retirement. Now, sure, some do, but most do not. They start something, they learn how business works, and then often move on to something completely different. And that second business is nearly always more successful than the first because they brought all of their learned skills with them. And the creator economy works the same way. The skills you develop building a creator business around your professional experience, the storytelling, audience building, product development, sales, building landing pages, these skills transfer completely to any other domain. If you spend a year building a successful creator business on YouTube, teaching data visualization, and then you decide you want to pivot to teaching digital art instead, you're not actually starting over. You already know how to structure content that keeps people watching. You know how to build out an email list, how to create and price products. You know how to handle customer support, how to manage finances. You're just now reapplying those skills to a new focus. But I'm telling you, if you launch into the creator economy by swapping finance or engineering to digital art on day one, you're learning all of these creator economy skills and tools while also trying to build above average knowledge, proficiency, and credibility in a field where you have no professional track record. You're fighting two battles simultaneously. And some of the most successful creators I know started in one niche, learned the game, and then shifted to something completely different. They used their now boring professional expertise to figure out the creator economy, and then they took those skills to pursue their actual or their new passion. And because they already knew how the game worked, their passion projects succeeded where others failed who jumped straight there. Now, I get it. I understand people get stuck on this because building a creator business feels so personal. Your face is on the content and your name is on the products and maybe even in the domain. So it feels like you're building a personal legacy brand that defines who you are forever. But that is well and truly influencer thinking. It's not strategic business thinking. You're not trying to become famous for being you. At least, I hope not. Instead, you should be building a business that solves problems first and foremost. And if you can learn to do that, just like any entrepreneur, you can build multiple businesses over your lifetime. So if you want to accelerate this process, I show you exactly how to launch your first creator business in much more depth in the Creator MVP Playbook. But if you're not ready for that yet, here's what I want you to do this week. Not next month, not when you have better equipment, not after you've thought about it some more. This week, open up your calendar or task list from last month. Find 3 problems that you solved at work. Now, these should be real problems that had consequences if they weren't solved. Maybe it was a process that you fixed, or a crisis that you navigated, or a decision that you influenced, or a system that you had designed and implemented. Whatever it is, write them down. Now, pick the one that would have hurt the most if it hadn't been solved, whether it was a problem that would have cost money, time, reputation, or opportunity for yourself or one of your colleagues if you had not stepped in. That's your first piece of content. Create a simple document in Notion, for example, explaining that problem and situation, why it happens, what most people try that doesn't actually work in your experience, what you did differently, what the result was, and draft out that sequence. Have ChatGPT smooth it out where you're getting stuck and to help you create a YouTube title, and then record that in front of a camera as your first or next video. Don't worry about production value or having a full content strategy. Just explain how you solved a real problem that mattered. And when you sit down to watch that video back, if it feels valuable to share, meaning if you can imagine it would have helped you avoid those problems if you went back in time and gave it to yourself before you encountered it the first time, then you're already on the right track with your creator business. And I want to add, you are miles ahead of everyone else who takes that other path, who are still trying to figure out how to make their passion valuable. See, the gap between the 97% who fail and the 3% who actually earn from their content isn't talent or timing, though of course those do play a role. But it's really in understanding that the creator economy, for all of its romantic notions and hype, is still just business. And that means there's value creation and there's value capture. There's finding problems and offering up solutions for them, and building up trust and converting it to transactions. And as a career professional, you have experience in a business. Now you just need to learn this specific business. And the smart move, the strategic move, is to learn it using the experience and expertise that you already have, even if it's just a few years down a career path, rather than starting from zero in a territory that you've never been paid for professionally. Because the truth is, and this really is the truth, the creator economy is not really about what you create. It's about understanding how value works in this new model. And once you learn to understand that, then you're free to create anything you want. And if you found this helpful, make sure to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss out on the micro education deep dive that I'll be dropping next week that shows you exactly how to turn your experience into products. And for those of you who are ready to go deeper right now, check out the creator playbook that I mentioned, which I've linked down in the description. But either way, until then, thank you for being here, and I'll catch you in the next one.